Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the regular school committee meeting to order. Today is November 20, oh, it says November, sorry. December 14th, 2021. We're starting a little late, I apologize. We are televised by Peabody Access Television. Real-time public participation can be addressed to the Peabody School Committee utilizing Zoom virtual meeting software for remote access. The application will allow users to view the meeting and make a comment during public participation. The mayor has a previous engagement this evening. We have the rest of the full committee. Mr. Hockman should be joining us shortly. He's expected to be late. So at this time, I would like to ask that everyone rise for a moment of silence. Thank you, and we're going to go into the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. We will start with a motion for the regular school committee meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the November 23rd, 2021 regular school committee meeting minutes.
Heard the motion. Is there a second?
I'll do a second, but I also have an amendment.
On the amendment, Mrs. Dunn?
Yes, I'd like to ask for some corrections. On page 2, under recognition, I'd just like to make sure that we check and get the correct spelling for Mrs. Michalchuk. I know that that's an error, and I'd like to make sure her name is reflected properly in the minutes. So that's on page 2, under number 2. And then on, let me see, just one second. There was another page. I'm sorry, I think it's missing here. Oh, I'm sorry. It's on page 3, under written communications. Under number 3, I would just like to add that all 9 resolutions did pass. And that note was made of resolution number 4 concerning recess becoming mandatory in the state of Massachusetts with a minimum of 20 minutes. So I'd just like to ask that those be added into the minutes.
Any comments regarding those changes? No opposition? Okay, Dr. Vidala, Ms. Chase, did you take those down to let our recording secretary know? Great, thank you. So on the motion with the amendments, made by Mr. Arnota, seconded by Mrs. Dunn, roll call vote.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Arnottis?
Yes.
Great, thank you. We'll move on to approval of bills. Mr. Olympio?
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 4924, dated December 14th, 2021, in the amount of $3,433,837.98, subject to audit.
Second.
Great, you've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mr. Amico on warrant number 4924. Any discussion? Roll call vote.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Arnottis?
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion to approve warrant number 4925, dated December 14th, 2021, in the amount of $271,195.21, subject to audit.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you. You've heard the motion by Mr. Olympio, seconded by Mr. Amico on warrant number 4925. Roll call vote.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Arnottis?
Yes.
Thank you. Before we go on to continued business, I would like to point out that this evening is Mr. Arnottis' last school committee meeting with us. And I think I speak for all of us when I say that we're going to miss you very much, Mr. Arnottis. It's been a pleasure working with you for the last 4 years. I know that we went through quite a bit with COVID. I'm not sure if it was something you or any of us expected to have to work through. And I want to say that your grace, your dignity, how respectful you were to this committee and myself is something that I will cherish and I will miss. I'm very sad to see you go. I do welcome Mr. Swanson, please don't take offense. But, you know, it's hard these days to come across a board that can work so well together and be so respectful, and there were times we were split, and it was difficult, and you were very respectful, regardless of what side of the table we were on, and I just want to thank you for that, and I hope that you'll stay in touch. I know that you're very politically involved, and, you know, hopefully we can see you again. I'm sure we will. And I just want to thank you and congratulate you for the years of service that you've given to Peabody and the schools. You're welcome. Mr. Olympio?
I echo 100% of what Ms. Carpenter said, and I just, you know, I want to add that obviously you're an asset to this board, you're an asset to the community, and I cherish the friendship we developed over the past 4 years, and I always look forward to debate with you, and you always made me think, and I look forward to your views on things. I'd be sitting here, I'd be like, gee, I'm wondering what Mr. Arnottis thinks about this, so I really enjoyed, you know, working with you, and certainly we had some fun times, and even with debate, like Ms. Carpenter said, you were always so professional and dignified, and I think we worked well together the past 4 years. So thank you, and I know big things will be ahead for you in the future, and if you ever need anything, certainly, you know, let us know. Thank you.
Mr. Amico?
Thank you, through the chair. Mr. Arnottis, you're young, talented, and respected. I'm jealous. On the young part, of course. No, I'm just going to get, everyone knows the type of person you are and how you hold yourself in the community, and you do so much for the community. But I want to give 2 quick little stories, and I think you know them. I've told you this personally. I think I might have mentioned them here as well. Election night, the first time we ran, it was an incredible campaign. We kept on running into each other all over the city, and it was such a great campaign. And you called me that night as soon as the results came in to congratulate me, and I remember telling you that you've got so much talent, that you should run again, and that you would win the next time, and you did, and you've done a great job, so thank you so much. The second thing was your dedication to this school, this particular school here, and the city. I wrote it down, March 13th, 2020. Doc Lord, you were there. Andrew was in the kitchen, making phone calls, trying to find food deliveries, because we, you know, getting on the horn and calling everyone he could, and talking to the person in charge at the time and making sure that she was calling distributors. We were literally looking for food to send home to kids that next week, and I'll never forget that. I'll never forget the phone call. You called me and you said, please get down here and give us a hand, and I came down because I knew you were working your tail off for kids, and I'll never forget that. That's who you are, and whatever you do in the future, just count on me. I'll be in your corner. Thank you.
Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. Mr. Arnottis. I have to say, Andrew, it has been an absolute privilege to serve with you. It's been a wonderful experience. It has been great to have your perspective on things, because you come from a different place. You were so close to have just graduated, and you had this incredible perspective on the way things occurred and how you would like to see things done, and always prepared, very thorough, very respectful, as everyone has said, just truly a professional person. And I'm very, very proud to have been able to serve with you. I think we'll see you back, probably not necessarily on school committee, but you have an incredible future ahead of you, and I'm so proud of you for going after, the next step in your life. It's really been nice to be a part of some of that, and you're not going to go far. We'll keep an eye on you. And I'm going to miss you. I'm going to call you every week.
I know.
Mr. Hockman?
Thank you. We were just talking about you, Andrew. I was at the Peabody Ed Foundation holiday party, and you came up quite a bit during the conversation over dinner. I got to know you a little bit as a younger person. I know a lot of the friends that your circle, and it's been nice watching you grow to this point, and there's a whole lot more growth in you, and you're going to take that on with your educational pursuits that you're going to start shortly. But you're a pretty remarkable young man. You bring a lot of professionalism, you bring a tremendous amount of integrity, and one of the things I am most impressed about you is your willingness to take a stand when you need to take a stand, but at the same time keep an open mind and listen to the fellow committee members with their thoughts and ideas about something, and your ability to pivot and transition at certain times and stand firm at other times. Ms. Dunn's correct. You're not done here. You have a long life ahead of you, and you're going to be in public service for a good part of that life. And we're going to be a better community because of it. It's been a pleasure serving with you, and we'll be sharing a drink sometime soon.
Mr. Arnottis?
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. And through you to all of you, I have to say, one of the toughest things when I was thinking about what to do was stepping away from this group. Because I do love all of you. And I can tell you, I spend a lot of time around a lot of elected people, and we are in a unique situation here that I don't just view you all as colleagues, I genuinely view you as friends. And I think about the intent I think we all thought when we run for these things, what you expect to come before you and what then actually does. I mean, the past 4 years here alone have really been incredible positives and a lot of negatives, unfortunately. Not on our half because of what the world threw at us, but something I always tell people when I'm out and about is this group, time and time again, has come together to get the job done. And I tell people all the time, the more local you get, the more you're affected by government. You need to know those people. You need to trust them. And every time we've disagreed, there has never, ever been a question in my mind, and I think this is why we all have the relationships with each other that we do. There's never been a question with any of you that I know where your heart is with this school system and how much you care and how much you just want to do good. And that's why I always believe good government isn't hard to do when you have good people doing it. And this room is filled with good people. It's funny, Mrs. Carpenter, you and I were sitting right over there, if you remember. I remember quite clearly. And after we had that vote, I think we paused for maybe 5 seconds, and then we turned to each other and said, I love you, and you said, you love me, after that reopening vote. And I think about that, and that's just a testament, to the work that we do here, that you leave it on this floor because you work with each other every day, and no matter when we disagree, I think I disagreed with all of you, and I have agreed with all of you at some point, but I have learned from all of you, and that is the biggest thing, that we can learn from each other. Mr. Amico, I remember that day, and I try not to remember that day in March. But again, that's part of the role here. That's part of the role. And Mr. Olympio too, we were in that race 6 years ago, and time really has flown. But you have all, I say it all the time. I think about it, you come in here and you learn from each other, and the experiences that we have had here are so valuable and so important. I'm just so grateful for the friendship here that we have had. And Mr. Hockman, you and I have disagreed as well, as you mentioned, but I have learned from you, and we have had that cordial relationship, and I am so grateful for it. You know, as Mr. Olympio said, I mean, I sit here and I have my opinions, but I'm so curious to hear where you all come from. Because I know I'm going to learn something and take something away from it. And Mrs. Dunn, I mean, how many times have you and I been on the phone for hours on end, you know, thinking we're solving all the world's problems, and sometimes we do. But you and I have been through, you know, the ringer of local politics here a lot together over the past 4 years, ups and downs and everything in between, and I'm so grateful for it. I truly can't. It's tough to leave tonight. I think in this world we all make these decisions when they're right for us, and it was the right time for me to make a change and do things a little bit differently. I hope to keep contributing, you know, when the opportunity arises. I do think, you know, we all have something to offer and have an opportunity to help, but I have to say my gratitude to the people of Peabody knows no bounds, because I was young. I mean, I guess I'm still in a sense young, but I was young. I was younger at the time. And, you know, it is funny. You knock on people's doors. They're pretty unfiltered. They will say what they think, and I appreciate that. And there's going to be people who say, you're too young, da, 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 da. But then there were enough people that took a chance on me and trusted me to do this job and allowed me to come in here and make the case and fight the good fight and, you know, be in our little local arena here to do that good work. And I am just so thankful for the people of Peabody for trusting me, for hiring me to do this job over the past 4 years. So I just have a big thank you. Thank you to our community. And then I do just have to give a little note. I think you all know my parents very well. And as we all know, when you run for anything, it's not you just doing it. It is your family in it 100%. And I could not do it couldn't have done it without my parents. I mean, they walked the streets, they did everything it took with me, and I am just beyond lucky to have them in my lives. I don't know what I would do without them, obviously. But in closing, I just want to, and I actually, before I close completely, I do want to thank the boss, my boss, Representative Welch as well, who has been an incredible mentor and supporter of me over the past 4 years here. You know, my job now is Chief of Staff in his office in the House Ethics Committee, and that is a little bit, it's more work that I've taken on there, so I thought it was a good transition to make that change. But him and our state delegation as a whole have been so incredibly supportive and helpful to me. So I just thank you all around. So many people helped me get elected here and do this job, and I have nothing else to say but thank you. I love Peabody, I love our people, and I'm looking forward to what comes next. So thank you for having me, and we'll see what comes. I appreciate it.
Andrew, that was great. We will miss you very much. We are not finished with you yet. We still have an agenda of the people's business that we are going to make you work on. You ready? You're not done yet. All right, moving on to continued business. Mrs. Dunn, the Welch School MSBA project update.
Thank you. The Welch School has a meeting Thursday of the Welch School Building Committee. It's at 9:30 in the morning. It will be available to the public on Zoom if anyone would like to watch it. And at that meeting, we will be discussing the current progress of the project. We've made some more significant steps in moving forward with this. One of the things that took place this past week was a meeting of staff members with the architects and the people who have the idea of what type of furniture can go into the classrooms. That was really a great meeting to sit and listen to what the staff spoke about and how excited they were when, when they were realizing what they were going to see in the classrooms. And it's really, really coming together very, very nicely. At this point, what's happening is there are a lot of a lot of meetings concerning the funding, the expenditures, how this is being done, on what kind of timely basis for interviewing for subcontractors. There are a lot of details. People have asked me, when are you going to start building the school? And it is amazing how much work has to be done before you can put a shovel in the ground. We are actually way ahead of where a normal school project would be in the normal course of events. Part of that is because the staff is so dedicated and they know we're on a very tight time schedule. But the other reason is because of supply chain issues. They are putting together pieces of the Welch School project months before you normally would in the course of normal school renovations. And so it's almost on a two-track. There's the common process and schedule, and when bond orders go out, and when the funding comes in, and when you make your orders, and what you decide with the drawings. Normally, some of the work that would come after that, like ordering furniture, ordering windows, ordering cement, that would take place down the road. It's all taking place now, just so everything can be ready to keep on the actual construction schedule. So it really is very, very detailed at this point, much more so than normal. So anyone wants to hear about that or see what's going on, feel free to tune in Thursday morning at 9:30. And I'm always happy to answer any questions anyone may have.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Any questions regarding that? Okay, being none, we're going to move on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Vidala?
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. So we have a quick agenda today, few agenda items, but I am pleased to announce our first agenda item is our Peabody Veterans Memorial High School Student Advisory Council is here. So as always, we want to thank Ms. Peabody, their advisor, and today we have two students who can please come on up, and they have a presentation for us.
Welcome, thank you. You know how to press that little, yep, great.
Thank you, everyone. I'm Jackie Scopa, and I know you all met Ryan at the last meeting. I had hoped to be here at the last meeting, but there were some senior festivities going on, as I'm sure you all knew of. So thank you for letting me be here today to help Ryan represent the Student Advisory Council at PVMHS. So these are all of our members. We now have two official ex officios, myself and Mr. Ryan McGrath.
Tonight we're going to talk about, Tonight we're going to talk about our highlights and going-ons at the high school. We're going to think outside the box with how we're going to solve all of our problems and some updates on current problem solving.
So some highlights recently at PVMHS. We had Spirit Week, which was a huge success. It helped morale in the school all around. Awesome school spirit from all of the grades. Those freshmen, youngins coming in and beating the sophomores in our spirit rally. It was an awesome time, and there was a really positive response to this year's, even though it was outside, which I know was a concern of a lot of the students, but we all had a lot of fun. Both there and at the Thanksgiving Day game and the Powder Puff game that was at the time of the last meeting. Also within the school, we have our annual Hat and Mitten Drive, and we have a school supplies drive for kids in Afghanistan fleeing the Taliban rule. We're doing donations to send school supplies over to them. And the Student Advisory Council ourselves are doing a Candygram fundraiser, sending some candy canes to fellow students and friends across the building to help some holiday spirit come into the school.
Our highlights are general clubs and activities are going strong. We just finished a musical, and a lot of club activities such as sports are kicking off. We're trying to get our ski club back on track and an outing club to be created. We're going on a DECA field trip. Do you know when?
I think it's this Thursday.
This Thursday.
Yep.
And we're gonna have our mid-year exams and zooming in speakers and guests to classes. Support ninth graders and underclassmen and their fundraisers and general club activities. Launch a social media campaign for the Student Advisory Council so we can announce any of our fundraisers or anything we need to just generally publicize. And we're going to have our state student government day, which I'm very excited
Yeah,
for.
so we have two students, Belle Turco and Dante Martinello, both juniors, interested in that day. We're excited. So in regards to thinking outside the box, in order to support the students and school community, we're improving mindsets, we're trying new things, trying to return to normal, but in new ways, and kind of using everything that COVID helped us realize in a positive manner, and working within the perimeters of COVID safety, like we had our pep rally outside, other things, but returning to mostly normal, hopefully.
And our updates and current problem solving is we're hoping to support the ninth grade students. We found them a advisor for student council. And for traffic in the student parking lot at PVMHS, we're going to find out anything that needs to be done and just general works to be done with that problem.
So yeah, we're trying to really work in those younger kids who kind of got cut off with their middle school years, stopping them from feeling like the outcasts, trying to use our advisory block to help with that, maybe throwing in some friendly competitions like door decorating and other things to help them really feel connected with the rest of the school.
Regarding traffic and general student parking, it's definitely a work in progress, and we're hoping to complete it this year. Some key people will focus on it regarding logistics and safety, on how it will be worked on. Short-term and long-term fixes are being considered, such as police officer implementation, speaking with transportation on what is possible to be done regarding traffic outside and inside of the school.
Yeah, if you guys have any questions, we would love to answer them.
Thank you for coming. I will say that when the Student Advisory Council comes, it is one of the highlights for us. We love to hear what's really going on. And I do want to say that I'm really impressed by the many points up there about ninth grade support. That's really important. You really hit it on the head that their middle school years were so interrupted and just transitioning into a high school. And I'm just very impressed with how many times I saw that that's a focus of yours. So I just want to say thank you. That was so important and so meaningful. And I do remember talking about the traffic issue last time you were here. So I hope there's some progress being made. I know Mrs. Dunn gave you some avenues of support and direction to help with that. I will say it's generally brought up all the time. Does anybody here have any questions? Mr. Amico.
Thank you, Mr. McGrath and Ms. Scopa, for being here. Oftentimes, as you know, we hear about the unfortunate incidents that do happen around high schools and schools, but we don't hear enough about the great things that our students do and the student leaders. Ryan, it seems like you're on everything. You're everywhere. You know, you're a true leader. Ms. Scopa, same with you. And it's just, this is our best part, is when we hear from you. Our emails are public. Please feel free to email us. You guys have the best ideas. You're in the building. This is what we do, and we do it for you. So I know it sounds cliche, but it is the truth. So if we hear from students and you have great ideas, bring them forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Mrs. Dunn?
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. Thanks for coming tonight. It really is a great thing to hear what you're bringing to us, because we're going to work together to try to help make things great up at the high school. On the traffic issue, do you have, does it involve the student parking lot, the teachers' parking lot, the buses? Is there any one choke point that you're trying to deal with that problem?
So I actually think one of the main issues is that there's not many borders when it comes to the different types of traffic we have going on. The student parking lot, it's a small parking lot, there's a lot of students. But we also have parents coming in and picking up kids within the student parking lot, and it just creates an unnecessary amount of traffic within there. Students rush out to try to beat the buses that eventually block us from coming out. So students that have to get to work or have practice, they tend to try to rush out to beat those buses, creates even more traffic, and we're just worried about the safety of everyone walking in front of those cars, fast driving, things like that.
Also, I think it was addressed last meeting, how athletes would rush to the student parking lot to get their car, go all the way to the teacher parking lot to park it there to do their student activities.
Okay. And how are you, how are you working with your classmates on the issue? Are you keeping it in discussions with the advisory board or reaching out? How are you handling that?
Yeah, so we reached out to Principal Magno about this, and he also knew that it was a concern, and he's glad that we brought it up. So he brought it to one of our deans, Mr. Kroll, and the resource officers at the school who are working to find a way to either add in some officers or find a new way to work traffic around so that students have separate traffic laws than the parents and the teachers and the buses, trying to separate us a little bit more. So they're working together on trying to find a solution for us.
And a dismissal, does everyone get dismissed at the same time, or do they have bus students first and then students?
Everyone, right at 1:50 when that bell goes, everyone's out.
Ah, yeah. Okay, that's a problem. All right, well, thank you. Keep up the good work, and let us know how you're doing if you need any help. And definitely meet with the traffic division with the police department. They are a wonderful resource. And actually, under our policy, you have to. So, good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Mr. Arnottis?
Thank you both for being here. And as you can see, you've initiated some conversation here because you're giving a perspective that, we certainly don't have. I am curious, though, with the traffic. You said parent pickup, is part of the issue. What side, are they coming up both sides? I thought it used to just be they came up the side of the ice rink. Is it now where the buses exit as well?
Yes, parents have started to come from both ways, and the ones who come out from the other side, not the ice rink side or the opposite side, tend to trickle into the student parking lot and wrap around.
Oh, okay.
And then, so we have that one lane of exiting from the student parking lot, half of it's being taken up by parents parked along the side waiting for kids, and then there's a mess.
Yeah, I would think there's probably an increase in accident rate if that's going on.
Yes.
I mean, that's news to me that that's even allowed. But hopefully that's something that might be able to be looked at over time here. Maybe we could have, the police, if you guys reach out to the traffic folks over at the police department, they're very helpful. But that might be something worth discussing going forward. But thank you both for being here. We always appreciate having you.
Thank you, Mr. Arnottis. Anyone else? Okay. Dr. Vidala?
Thank you, Jackie and Ryan. I always like a good competition, so I was very impressed with the outdoor pep rally this year. And, kids were really having a good time, and being able to spread out on the football field and having kids in the stands, it was really impressive to see. And I'm also very impressed with just the amount of fundraisers and donations that you're making. It's really impressive. The hat and mitten drive and the school supplies for the students in Afghanistan is really successful, and I think, you guys deserve a lot of credit for that. And of course, as Ms. Carpenter mentioned, the work you're doing with the ninth graders is excellent. So thank you for all the work that you're doing, and we look forward to hearing from you again in January.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Testing.
Okay, moving on to the next agenda item. So moving on to the next agenda item is some great news from the Bar Foundation grant that we applied for. So I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Kelly and hopefully her.
Okay, how's this? Can you hear me? Nope. Is Josh's working? I can go down there. Do you want me to
Test,
turn
1,
on
2.
the-
Oh, nothing.
Just going to be a moment with our mic issue. Yeah, I don't.
So I have the pleasure of talking about some great news tonight. We have just been informed that we've been awarded a $150,000 planning grant from the Bar Foundation. This is significant because it represents a commitment to us and recognizes the work that's been done at the high school to date and the promise of what's to come and looking forward when we can finally put this pandemic behind us and think about the future of PVMHS. So this has been a great investment, and it's for us to do some planning with some key priorities in mind. So over the 12-month period from this December through next, we have an opportunity to imagine the future of what PVMHS looks like, particularly thinking about all of the work that's been done for the vision of a graduate, and with the experiences that we've had over the past 20-plus months, an opportunity to re-engage the learning community, to revisit that vision of a graduate, knowing what we know about teaching and learning at this point, and renewing a commitment to that. There's also a significant portion of this grant that's allocated towards professional learning, so really investing in the staff of the high school and having them get more opportunities to have professional learning around the future of teaching and learning. Also, we're looking at continuing to build a strong, positive, and supportive culture within the school for both students and adults alike, and this is one of the tenets that Bar Foundation builds this grant upon, looking for a place where every student in the high school has an opportunity to be known and appreciated and heard by faculty, staff, and peers, and challenged in the work, and then supported in whatever pathway they choose to go forward in. And the final key point for the grant is building an understanding and capacity to provide rigorous and relevant learning experiences and appropriate supports for all students. So I think one of the things that has come out of the pandemic is thinking about the future of what careers might look like. So 20-plus months ago, I probably would not have considered being able to hold all kinds of meetings on Zoom and breakout rooms and things of that sort. So what are the implications for our students and for our staff as well? And I'd also like to end with this, that we will be talking about this more over the next 12 months. We haven't heard the last from the Bar Foundation and all the work that will come out of this, but I'd also like to thank Mr. Magno and Dr. Meyer for their help and support with this grant submission.
Great. Thank you, Dr. Chase. And as indicated in that first line, this is a planning grant, so it's $150,000 to plan for the future. So it's really a self-examination, identifying what the needs are at the high school, and being able to go out and observe other schools and bring some people in to really find out a long-term plan to really try to help to address any concerns that we have at the high school and a lot of the opportunities to make the high school the best school that we can make it. And beyond that, this is just the beginning. This is the tip of the iceberg. So if we work with this foundation and they're able to come in and see that our staff is willing and open to work with them, this could turn into a multi-year $750,000 grant. So this could be a big grant over a 3 to 4 year period that we're really excited about. And so the opportunities here are definitely very exciting, and it's something that we really want to dive into. And to be a mid-year grant, we can start the work now, and it will go over multi-years. So we're very excited about that.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Does anybody on the committee have any questions or comments? Mrs. Dunn?
I do have a question, thank you. This actually is quite an honor to get a Bar Foundation grant. How will this work with the work that's currently being done at the high school with the, Teachers 21? They're working with the high school as well. Are those, I know they're separate, but will there be any compatibility between the two processes? How will that operate?
So when we applied for this grant, we do a self-assessment and we talk about the work that we've done to date. And so BAR really looks at us to see if the initiatives we have going at the time will overlap and dovetail nicely into what the grant looks like. So yes, it will all fit together.
And will there be a staff person assigned to coordinate the activities that'll take place under the grant? How will you, have you put that in place yet?
So we have an initial meeting that's coming up. We just got notified of the award very recently, so that's our next step. There is support that comes with this grant as well. So it's not just the financial piece, but it's also support in the form of help with facilitation and then professional development and learning and networks for us to become involved in.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Anyone else have any questions or comments regarding the grant? Nope, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. The next item on the agenda is an examination of our elementary English language arts curriculum. And so that has been led by Dr. Chase, so I'm going to turn it over to her for the next 2 slides as well.
So this is another exciting opportunity that we've been engaged in. Earlier in the year, DESE had an open call for districts that were interested in looking at their curriculum and learning together with DESE about high-quality instructional materials. So we jumped at that opportunity to take a look at where we are and where we can potentially go with our ELA curriculum. So from that end, we have joined in several network meetings with folks from across the state, learning about high expectations, what that looks like as it plays out in the classroom, and then how the materials can support that. The timing of this was really great for us because our ELA program is over 10 years old, and it has become outdated. So you wouldn't be able to get additional copies in print going forward. So this was a nice entryway into taking a look at where do we go next. And so with representation from across the district, from every angle that we could imagine, we pulled together a curriculum council who's doing the work with us in terms of giving us opinions, looking at what high-quality instructional materials look like, the criteria for that, starting some initial conversations about what they like about the current program, what they would want to improve upon, and what's happened over the past 10 years since we first had that. Moving forward, this is the initial work that we've done, and I'll show you a slide in just a minute. So we're at the initial stages, and the next step for us is really, this is the 10,000-foot overview this evening, and then prior to the break, there'll be a larger communication that goes out to the larger staff from the K through 5 lens, so that everybody's on the same page and we can incorporate lots of voice from across the district. So our next steps, if you can see, our superintendent is way ahead as always. So if we look at this graphic that's up on the board now, we can see that the first 2 months of this school year, we've been engaged in a lot of learning. And now we're at the point where we're taking that learning and we're starting to have discussions about what does that mean for us in terms of how we align this work with hope. So what does it mean to have high expectations when we're looking at curriculum materials and so on? What does it mean to have optimism and rigor in the classroom? And then taking those ideas and really see if they overlay with some of the materials we'll eventually look at. The second half of the year is really getting those materials in hand and including lots of other voices in the process and having them look at those materials, give opinions on them, and help us inform that decision moving forward. So exciting work, ultimately hoping to have some additional materials going into the next school year.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Chase. The next item on the agenda is a health and safety update. So we talked a little bit about this last week at the last meeting, and I just wanted to do a little bit of review and share a little bit of data. So we are experiencing the expected surge in the COVID-19 cases. Last meeting we mentioned that, following Thanksgiving, we expected to see a little bit of a surge. So this is just a graphic that shows the number of positive cases in the Peabody Public Schools from the beginning of the year, starting September 22nd. You saw that that was about 2 weeks into the school year. We saw a little bit of an increase, and then the numbers started to come down. And then beginning in November, sometime after Halloween, we saw this little bit of a rise. And then now following Thanksgiving, we're seeing a little bit of a steeper increase. So this next slide is a 2-year slide from the city of Peabody. And so if you look at the way the graph is, I've put an arrow at post-Thanksgiving 2020. So we did see that dramatic rise in cases post-Thanksgiving a year ago, and then we saw a little dip, and then another increase post the December break, and then in January the numbers came down. We're following the same path. However, you can see that there are less cases now, which we can assume is due to the number of people who have gotten vaccinated and built immunity and whatnot. So we have seen this slight rise in cases. This first highest blue dot right there is the beginning of the school year, and then you see how it came down, and now we're experiencing the expected surge. However, you'll notice that it is less than it was last year at this time. And I will say that we are seeing these numbers of cases. However, this year we have students that do not have to quarantine because they're vaccinated, or they've chosen to participate in test and stay, and they're able to stay in school. So even though we're seeing this expected surge, we are taking a number of precautions. This slide is an updated slide about the vaccination rates. So something that's new on this is the 5 to 11 age range. So we have 28% of our 5 to 11-year-olds have received their first COVID vaccine shot. We're up to 74% of 12 to 15-year-olds with their first shot, and 78% of the 16 to 19-year-olds. So these are creeping up, 72% here fully vaccinated, and so we anticipate that after the 3-week period that the students here at 78% will receive their second shot, and we'll continue to see this increase. We do expect the number of 5 to 11-year-olds to increase a little bit more rapidly because we did hold some vaccine clinics for families in our schools. So some of the steps that we're taking, tomorrow there's a testing event, a free testing event for any resident or employee of the city of Peabody here at the Higgins, drive-through testing. So that's Wednesday, December 15th. We held elementary vaccine clinics, and nearly 300 students ages 5 to 11 were vaccinated in the schools. And so that's about twice the number of flu vaccines that we typically do. So that was very successful, free vaccines given out to the students in school that had pre-registered. We also have a number of students that are doing that outside at their pediatrician. And again, we are continuing the diagnostic and test and stay programs. If people choose not to get vaccinated, we are encouraging them to participate in test and stay so that they don't have to quarantine if they have an in-school transmission. And you may have heard in the news that there are about 100 communities that are getting some free tests from the state. Peabody is one of those. And so we are working with the health department that we'll be giving free at-home test kits to any families with financial need. I know that CVS has also posted that they're selling kits for $9.99 if people wanted them for home. We'll be giving some to free to families in needs. They'll be distributed to students. So a portion will go to the senior center, a portion will go to other areas in the city that serve families with financial need, and then we'll be distributing them right to some of our students who are in need as well. So I will pause there and see if there are any questions about our health and safety updates.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Mr. Arnottis.
Thank you. Through you to Dr. Vidala. Dr. Vidala, just a quick question. If you don't know, that's okay. I'm just curious. For the free at-home test kits for families, is that something where they'll be requesting them, or is it being distributed just strictly based off financial need? Is there any structure for that by chance as of yet?
So we got the information today that the kits were coming, and so we'll be working, they'll be distributed next week, and so we'll be working with our principals to identify families in need and distribute those. And we're able to provide them, so if a family has a financial need, to provide them for all of the families. And what we're anticipating is to give them out before the holidays so that when they're not in, and if we're not in school, they wouldn't be doing test and stay or diagnostic testing, that they would have some kits at home over the 2 weeks period of the vacation if they wanted to test. And they're the rapid test kits that they'll just follow the directions in the test kit. So it's an option for people that would like them. We haven't worked out all the details, but we're anticipating that the principals will identify families and we'll be able to send them home with the kids.
Thank you, Mr. Arnottis. Mr. Olympio?
Yes, through the chair, thank you. Dr. Vidal, I've had some inquiries from staff and some parents about the availability of flu shots. Is that something that we'll be offering in the near future?
So we haven't done the flu clinics this year. We can work with, I know that they did one at City Hall for municipal employees, but we will look in. I know that they're really focused on the COVID just because of the capacity that they have. They've been focused on boosters and shots for the 5 to 11-year-olds, but I can look into that. And if not, we can see if we can partner with like a CVS or a Walgreens to make sure there's an opportunity for staff to go there.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Amico?
Great, thank you. Through the chair to Dr. Vidala. At the last meeting, I asked about test and stay for students who are close contacts outside of school. Will this, with all these tests being distributed, can this possibly change, or could we ask in possibly a letter to DESE to see if we are able now to do test and stay for students who are close contacts outside of school? Have they given us any indication?
So they have not indicated a change in the test and stay protocols. These tests could be used if someone had tested positive for the 5th day. They could use it as a PCR test. So I'll double check what exactly the test kits are, but it is an option for a test. Right now, the test and stay parameters have not changed, but we can look at what these free test kits can get just as another resource for families.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next item is current budget considerations within the current fiscal year 22. So we have 2 recommendations for the committee. And so the first recommendation is to add a full-time position of an ELL teacher at Peabody Veterans Memorial High School. And the rationale is that we've seen an enrollment increase since the beginning of the school year in the number of English language learners that we have since September 1st. And so some of our classes are getting a little bit big. So within the budget, we have identified that there is enough money in the salary line to hire an ELL teacher, and that would reduce class size and provide those students with a little bit more of a personalized experience. And the second recommendation we have is we do have some money in the budget line for a clerical position, and we would recommend at this time a dean's clerk at the high school, and this can address some of the issues of tardiness, chronic absenteeism, safety and security, so that there would be someone outside the dean's office for teachers to be able to call that would be there consistently, and as well as just a sense of student belonging, a sense of belonging for students, so that they have a familiar face that they could go to and see. It'd be another opportunity for parents as well. So, we'd really be looking at adding these 2 positions, which are currently in the budget, but wanted to put them out to the committee as we're looking at sort of the mid-year point of something that could really help the high school.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. Do we have any questions or concerns regarding the 2 positions? Mr. Amico?
Through the chair, I'd like to take these individually if we can. I'd like to follow the recommendation of the superintendent for the hiring of an ELL position at Peabody Veteran Memorial High School.
Second.
Great, you've heard the motion by Mr. Amico, seconded by Mrs. Dunn. Any questions or comments on the motion? Being none, we'll do a roll call vote.
Mr. Hoffman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Arnottis?
Yes.
Great, that carries. Mr. Amico?
I'd like to follow the recommendation of the superintendent to hire a dean's clerk for Peabody Veterans Memorial High School. It's a full-time position with benefits.
Second.
Great, you've heard Mr. Amico's motion, seconded by Mrs. Dunn. Is there any questions or comments? Mr. Hockman?
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. Through you to Dr. Vidala. The only question I think I have at this time is, in the past, we've had, I think each dean has had a clerk, and you're recommending that we hire one, is it one person with one FTE, or is it multiple people that are going to share one FTE?
Right now, there are 0, so we're just asking to add 1 position, right, at this time.
One person.
One FTE, 1 person.
And and this person would work
Be
presumably?
like a floor secretary in B House for the deans. Yep.
Thank you.
Are there any other questions or concerns on this position? I will say that I am very pleased with this position and the description of it, and thank you, Dr. Vidala, for this. I do appreciate it, and I think it's going to do a lot of good, and you have my full support. So we have a motion on the floor. Anything else? We will take a roll call vote.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Arnottis?
Yes.
Thank you. That carries. Dr. Vidala?
Excellent. Thank you so much. I know that the high school will certainly appreciate that, and this will go a long way in the work that we're doing. So I appreciate all the support that we receive from the committee. And the final item on the agenda for the superintendent's report is donations. So this is, I always like to end with a little happiness. So the first one of our Peabody Prep employees at the middle school, Mrs. Msba, her husband works for the Cummings organization, and so the Cummings Community Giving donated $1,000 to Peabody Prep. Acadia Financial donated $1,050 in Amazon gift cards to the students. So they gave every student at Peabody Prep, through the work of Dr. Lord, an Amazon gift card during the holidays, which was very nice. And very excited about Macy's has donated $3,000 worth of winter coats to Peabody Elementary Schools. Over 100 coats will go out next week. We'll take some photos and share that. And there was a late communication that you got today, but I wanted to put it into the superintendent's report, so I took it out of order. I hope nobody objects to this. But this is such a great story. This is one of our Peabody Veterans Memorial High School sophomores. Jake Canuel, and Jake was doing a service project for confirmation, and he collected gift cards from around the community, and he raised over $600 in gift cards and donated them to his elementary school, the McCarthy Elementary, for kids in need during the holiday season and families in need. So I just thought that was something that I really wanted to bring into the superintendent's report because that was such a great thing. So we'd like to do letters for everybody, but I think it'd be nice to bring Jake to maybe to a January meeting, similar to the way we brought some of our students in the past. We just got this today, and I couldn't wait to tell you because it was such a great thing, but maybe we can bring Jake into a meeting and just thank him publicly, because this is just such a, just a great thing around the holidays for him to do, such a selfless act, so.
Thank you, Dr. Vidala. I think we would all enjoy to meet Jake, a leader and somebody who is truly a giver and a helper, and those are important things right now. So if we'd like to make a motion to accept the donations?
So moved.
All in favor? Mr. Hockman?
Thank you, Ms. Carpenter. These are all wonderful donations, and Jake was certainly a nice story in the middle of a difficult Tuesday at work. So it's always good to read or see nice things that our students are doing for each other, and that was a really great story. I do want to point out of the donations that we're receiving tonight or acknowledging tonight, and personally thank Macy's. Macy's started providing our students with winter coats in 2018 and has done so every year. And this was a grant that originally came about, or we became aware of, and Kara Murtag wrote this grant back then, and it was a great, wonderful donation then. It continues to be a wonderful donation. I know that there are a lot of businesses, including Macy's up at the mall, that are experiencing some difficult times with the world as we are living in it. So I just wanted to thank them for continuing to support our kids.
Well said, Mr. Hockman. We had a motion. All in favor, those donations are accepted, and we will send a letter of gratitude and an invitation to Jake.
Excellent, thank you. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you, Dr. Vidala. The next item on the agenda is public participation. Is there anyone here in the audience that would like to speak this evening? Karen, do you have your hand up? Please come to the microphone. I am.
If there is anyone online that would like to speak, please raise your hand, and after Ms. Mayo speaks, we can give you the opportunity as well.
Ms. Mayo, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Karen Mayo. Address is 61 Harrison Ave, Peabody, Mass.
Thank you, welcome.
As most of you will find out, I don't like speaking, but there's, I'll say, two issues. One, after I heard the students talk about the parking lot, we have the same issue over in the teachers' parking lot. The parents are parking in front of our cars and blocking us. Not only that, but they're parking on the road and on the grass. So you can't even get out if you want. So, yeah, there definitely has to be something done, I think, on both sides. The other issue is back in October. This board had a motion to get rid of the masks. Thank God you didn't. But I'm asking, if you're going to make a motion, to please consider everything involved. You would need to put the cleaning protocols back in place. There are none. How do you expect people to take them off? I am fully vaccinated. That's my choice, but it's also to protect my family. I have a 90-year-old mother with me. When we're working, I'm not just working with those kids or with the staff or administration. I also have to go home to my own family. I can expose those kids. They can expose me. Any of us can. I could be here. I could get it. When you're talking about removing something that has helped, you need to make sure that you're not just doing that, and I hate to say it, to appease some of the population, because it's not just the students that are affected. It's family members. It could be any one of you. And all of us don't live in Peabody. We live in other places. None of us know anyone else's circumstances. There are children that cannot be vaccinated. You're willing to expose them? This could kill them. We've seen it. Maybe not here in Peabody, we're lucky. But when you do make a motion, you need to look at all factors involved. And that's what I'm asking. Because I know for a fact, and I'm sorry, there was no cleaning protocols in place. We don't have the cleaning we had last year. We don't have the wipes for the desks. You know, there's not the bleach anymore. What's the ventilation up there like? Is the air exchange still the same? Has it changed? And this is in every building, not just the high school. And you're talking the younger kids who possibly are not vaccinated could get it even more so. I'm fully vaccinated. And if they tell me in 6 months to get another one, I'm telling you, I'll be the first one there because of the circumstances I live with. But it also keeps me able to go to work every day and help our kids, and that's what they are. So you do need to look at that. You need to look at cleaning. It's not an easy thing. Maybe come April, believe me, none of us want this. Nobody wants the mask. I would love to take it off and leave it off, but I don't, because I need to protect people. And it's the whole community, not just the school community you need to think about. And I've heard this committee say in past years, when you're doing a budget, we need to think about the whole community. So when you're talking about taking a mask off, you need to think about the entire community, not just one sector. So those are the two things.
Thank you, Ms. Mayo. Thank you so much for speaking. We don't usually address public participation, but I just want to point out that you've been coming to these meetings for probably 30 years and you never get up and speak,
Close.
so thank you.
I will only get up if I think I need to, and I think that was a rushed motion, basically on emotion, people's emotions. And I understand all of you get calls. I've called all of you at different times. Try not to, because I know you're busy, because you guys also have lives. But the thing is, sometimes when we make these motions or we make a decision, we're not thinking it through. I would love for you to tell me I can take my mask off, but then I also want you to tell me I'm going to be safe. So that's the bottom line.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Oh, and Andrew, you will be missed.
Is there any other public participation, Dr. Vidala?
Seeing none.
Okay, well, we're going to move on to written communications. We had a late written communication that was emailed to everyone, and I want to confirm that everyone did receive the email regarding the stander that we're asking to donate. Did everyone get that? You got it, you got it? Okay. So I'd like to entertain a motion to receive this written communication, and then we can review it.
Motion to receive.
Second.
Great. Dr. Vidala, would you like to go over this?
Yes, thank you, Mrs. Carpenter. So a few years ago, as we do as a public school, we purchased a stander for a student. It was a student with some substantial special needs, and the stander was very important for him to access the curriculum. So we purchased it. The student is aging out, and we no longer have a need for the stander. We don't have a student in the district or one coming up that would fit or need this stander. And the special ed department, instead of keeping it in a closet, would like to donate it to the family. It is an expensive piece of equipment that we've used, and it's outlasted its life, but the family could still use it, and we couldn't. So we would like to donate it to the family, and we'd be, the special ed department, Ms. Chioda, has written a letter to the committee, and, we'd like your blessing to be able to do that.
Mr. Arnottis?
I'll make a motion to approve the donation.
Second.
We have a motion from Mr. Arnottis, seconded by Mr. Amico. Mrs. Dunn on the motion.
I think we first have to declare it surplus and then can give the donation.
All right, I'll start with a motion to make it surplus.
Okay, so we're going to amend your motion to declare the stander surplus.
Yes.
You still second on the motion, Mr. Amico. Okay, on the motion to declare the stander surplus. Roll call vote.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Arnottis?
Yes.
Okay, now that the item is surplus, we can go ahead and release that.
Okay. I'll make a motion to donate the stander on behalf of the Peabody Public School System.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Mrs. Dunn seconded on the motion. Any questions or comments on the donation of the motion? Being none, roll call vote.
Mr. Hockman?
Yes.
Mr. Olympio?
Yes.
Mr. Amico?
Yes.
Mrs. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mrs. Dunn?
Yes.
Mr. Arnottis?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. The other written communications you have before you is the North Shore Education Consortium Annuals Report. Any questions or comments regarding that? Being none, we will move on to subcommittee reports. The first one is the Education Subcommittee, Mr. Hockman. Nope, it's not you. It's Mr. Amico.
I could have.
And we're going to get all new ones.
Through the chair, Ms. Carpenter, nothing to report at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Finance Subcommittee, nothing to report. School Safety Subcommittee, Mr. Olympio.
Yes, we met prior to this meeting. It was just a brief meeting on various safety issues across the district. That's it. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Athletic and Wellness, Mr. Arnottis.
I have nothing new to report right now.
Are you sure this is the final one?
I'm sure.
Anything to
as much
say?
as I'm holding back, I'm gonna.
Thank you, Mr. Arnottis. Quality and Standards Subcommittee,
Ms.
Mrs. Dunn.
Carpenter.
Whoa, Mr. Amico has something. Just a minute.
Thank you. If we could, I did see a release here from the governor's office that he signed a bill for for $4 billion for COVID relief funding. I remember when we were, through the chair, I remember when we were talking about, we were closed, and it was all about kids, and it was all about getting them back to normalcy. And I do think, through this athletic subcommittee, I'd like to start thinking about next year's budget in regards to assisting our boosters. I think they do so much for our kids. I'll give an example. Our football boosters, football and cheer boosters, they go out and they seek donations. It's a lot of, it's a few parents, it's a lot of parents who donate time and money. They provide pregame meals for student athletes on that football and cheer. They provide post-game meals, or I should say post-game practice meals. They donate athletic equipment to students in need. They also donate just regular clothing sometimes to students in need. And I was aware that the football team did win the NAC South Championship, and the boosters did provide them with T-shirts, football and cheer, and the amount was in excess of $1,350. I do think, as a board, we spend money on a lot of items. We spend money in buildings and so forth. I really do think our athletic department needs to see a little bit more from us in regards to funding. So if we're signing bills, the government's signing bills for $4 billion in COVID relief money, I really do think that some of that money needs to go back to our kids and athletics, or our drama, or our chorale, whether it's field trips or something. But I really want to start thinking about helping those boosters. So if we could, through the chair to the superintendent, Dr. Vidala, if we can find out how many booster clubs we actually have at the high school, I'd like to really start thinking about helping them help our kids. These are the coaches, these are the parents who know the kids the best. Students are in school from 7 to 2 at the high school, let's say 7:30 to 2. These coaches, these parents are with the kids after school, on weekends, at night. They know them best. Like I said, they provide a lot for these kids, and we have an incredible booster group up at the high school. And I know we have great PTOs at the elementary and at the middle school. But in regards to this, I really want to start thinking about helping and assisting those boosters to help our kids, because that's what we're in it for. If we're truly going to think about helping kids, let's help them in the extracurricular activities that they do. And these parents and adults do so much for them, but I want to help out. And I think come budget time, I'd like to really consider moving some money and helping the booster clubs at the high school and beyond. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Amico. Great ideas. Booster organizations are wonderful. They do a lot for our kids, and I know we all appreciate them, and the kids do too. And those parent volunteers do mean a lot to us. So great ideas, and I look forward to talking about that during budget time. Any other comments on the item? No? Okay. Moving on to quality and standards, Mrs. Dunn.
Nothing to report tonight.
Thank you. And the liaison to parent and student advisory boards.
Nothing to report regarding meetings. However, I did want to let everyone know that there's going to be an opportunity coming up in the spring for our student advisory board to go into Boston to meet with the legislators. So we will see you again. And also that a training for student advisory boards is being set up by MASC, and it should hopefully take place in January. Has not been confirmed yet. They're looking for locations, and they're also trying to determine what a good day would be for the students because of all the extracurricular activities and sports that most students are involved in. Trying to find kind of a neutral day is what MASC is looking for at the moment.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Dunn. Building and Grounds Subcommittee, Mr. Hockman.
Nothing to report.
Thank you. And the Special Education Parent Advisory Board, Mr. Olympio.
Nothing to report other than I plan on calling a meeting probably sometime in the middle of January after the holidays. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Liaison to the city council, Mr. Arnottis?
Nothing new to report. Thank
It's your
you.
last chance.
I'm going to schedule meetings now until January 3rd for that one.
And the redistricting ad hoc subcommittee, Mr. Hockman.
So I'm now going to filibuster for a few hours so we can keep Andrew on notice with us for. We have a redistricting subcommittee meeting this Thursday, 6 PM here at the Higgins.
Great, well, that is all we have. I want to wish everyone happy holidays, a great new year. Mr. Arnottis, this is really it this time. We wish you well, we will miss you, and I'm sure we have not heard the last from you. Any final comments?
Well, just very, very quickly. You caught me off guard earlier because I thought I was going to have to do the round robin a little bit later. I wasn't ready.
I wanted to give you prime time, because I knew it would get late. So
I know. Our viewership has probably tanked in the past 20 minutes, but just very quickly, again, it's an honor to serve with this group. And I want to thank our team here. I mean, I have to tell you, I think back, I started with Dr. Levine, and then Mrs. Murtagh, Ms. Murtagh, who we miss so much, Dr. Kerbo briefly, and now we have Dr. Vidala, and I wish you the best moving forward. Thank you for the work that you do here in Peabody and steering the ship. I'm wishing you all the best in the future here. Dr. Chase, thank you for joining us. It's been a pleasure to meet you and get to know you over these past few months since you've joined us, and I wish you all the success in the world as well. Dr. Lord, can we do it? The bulls up. I love that. What is it? Did I do that right? Bulls up. I love that. Thank you. Thank you so much for what you've done. Mr. Scanlon, it's been a pleasure to work with you over these past few years. I wish you well in your future endeavors as well moving forward. And I know he's not here, but our chairman, the mayor, I'm very grateful to him. It's 10 years ago in 2022 that I graduated Peabody High School, and kind of my first start was, I think, a summer intern in 2013 in my freshman year of college in his office. And the nerves I had of being left alone in that office to answer the phone when that phone rang to where it has become has really been something. But again, thank you to this community. Thank you to all of you. Your Peabody is well served by the people in this room, and they will be continued to be by Mr. Swanson here when he steps in January. So thank you. Happy holidays, happy New Year, and keep doing the good work. That's what it's all about. Thank you, guys.
Mr. Arnottis, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
Like him to make that motion to adjourn. Yes, I meant to do that. So.
Thank you.